Hello and welcome to NHL Best Bets. Today we have a World Championship game ongoing between Finland and Canada, so we have a little bit different outfits here. But let's go first through the last night NHL games that were a bit surprising, at least from our side as well as for many bookmakers. Toronto completed their epic meltdown from leading 3-1 and playing two games at home, and then lost to Montreal the game 7 and went fishing. Montreal played surprisingly well, and they deserved their place to the second round, facing Winnipeg in the next game. And then Islanders Boston second round ongoing in East Division second game there. Islanders equalized the series 1-1 by winning Boston after overtime last night 4-3. Islanders was better team. They just let the gas for last 10 minutes, and Boston scored twice to equalize the game 3-3, but Islanders show that they can beat Boston. They can proceed to the Final Four from the East Division if they play like they did last night. Tommy, only red, but a bit surprising games.
Yeah, it's not like us to pick the favorites, and this is the reason why, because it rarely brings results for us. But anyway, in Toronto, of course, the game, a horrible series for Toronto. I think everything is said about that. They should have played a lot better. Their offense was nowhere to be seen. Montreal played exactly the way that they had to play in order to win this series. Very well, very good performance defensively. Carey Price in the net, of course, one of the better keepers in the NHL. So he was the guy then who kept Montreal in the game when Toronto tried to push in the third period. But overall, in this whole series, when you go 3-1 up, you're such a good team as Toronto is. Something happened there that just didn't work. So losing 2 times in the overtime, of course, one thing, but then game 7 and nothing to show for it. So a very bad loss for Toronto, and still the curse continues for another couple of decades maybe. And Montreal, let's see, they're facing now Winnipeg. Very interesting matchup, but we go through that a little bit later. In Boston, then the game, like you mentioned, Islanders was a lot better than in the first game. They duly deserved their victory from here. Boston now relied again too much on their first line. The other lines didn't really get their game going, and even if they got a little bit shots on goal, they got a couple of chances. Nothing that spectacular, as if you compare how they played in the first game, and they created chances after chances and managed to score a lot. Now it was more of a Islanders and maybe a little bit loosening up in the end that allowed Boston to get into the game and take it to overtime. But it was Islanders on the driver's seat in this game. Very interesting setup going to New York now, where Islanders usually are a tough team. We'll see how this goes. Boston Bruins plays very well on the road as well, so not a big difference, but let's see. Barry Trotz is a guy who likes to play at home. We've seen that Islanders are improving when they face the same opponents multiple times. They get better and better and better. Not sure if they have a lot to improve from last night's game, but if that's enough, they might actually surprise Boston in this series.
Yeah, Islanders won all of those 4 games at home against Boston. Few tight games, and then there was one 7-2 game as well. So I think right now, even though the probabilities are maybe in Boston's corner, Islanders is the driver in this matchup.
Yeah, it will be a very close one, so I wouldn't say anything yet about that. Let's run some simulations and see how they look.
How about the simulations for the Winnipeg Montreal series that you mentioned? Montreal is one of our least favorite teams by the simulations. Is that something that Winnipeg will now sweep in 4 games?
Probably not in 4 games. Like you mentioned, Montreal, one of our least favored teams during the season. Winnipeg, on the other hand, one of the most favored, or especially compared to the odds. Also, Montreal has now improved a little bit compared. If this would have been run in the beginning of the season, it would have been a certain sweep. But now the percentages are for Winnipeg 65 to Montreal's 35. So still Jets a massive favorite, but it's most likely to go longer. So at least 6 games is 60% chance. So 6 or 7 games with 60% chance. So it's not that easy series for Winnipeg Jets. The first game, though, seems to be about 70% for Winnipeg. So let's see how the odds turn out to be when they're playing day after tomorrow, or tomorrow actually is the first game. So let's see how that goes. Not an easy series for Jets, but they are definitely the favorites by the simulations as well.
And this also ensured that from the north, Winnipeg or Montreal is the team that is lowest seeded in Final Four. So they will face the Colorado or Vegas that are the top 2 teams so far, and were top 2 teams in regular season. So that might be interesting matchup regardless which teams are playing there.
Yeah, so far in the simulations which I ran so far, the Colorado Avalanche are winning both of these teams for about 80% of the time. And also Vegas is closer to 70% favorites if they manage to beat Colorado. So of course, if Vegas now beats Colorado, they probably turn into even bigger favorites. So let's see how this Winnipeg-Montreal series will play out with the odds and the probabilities for both of these teams, because these simulations, of course, follow the performances in these playoff series as well.
Yeah, it is interesting game tomorrow when they start to play Winnipeg and Montreal. Winnipeg has now rested over a week. Montreal has played tough games against Toronto, a few overtimes there, and now most probably something similar could happen what happened for Colorado when they played against Vegas. Of course, Colorado is a bit better team, but I think there is some kind of a difference between Winnipeg and Montreal as well.
Yeah, definitely a difference. And when you take a look at how the teams play, Montreal managed to beat Toronto by being extremely physical, playing really tight defense. That is something that is very hard on you also mentally. So Montreal had to be present all the time in order to win this. So Winnipeg will definitely exploit this one and try to attack Montreal with their own weapons. So they will be physical. They will take every check in until the end, and they will probably use some maybe some unnecessary aggression as well to put Montreal out of their game and out of the balance. So I think Winnipeg has a definite upper hand because of this resting period. So they have full energized guys there in their lineup.
Let's see what kind of odds are available for that game tomorrow. But tonight there is only one game. Carolina hosts Tampa, second game of the series. We have here Carolina with some value, plus 100 odds right now, and probability is a bit higher to win this game. It's a pretty much must win for them if they want to continue the series. If Tampa goes 2-0 to home, they are regaining champion. They have played very well during the playoffs. It might be too big mountain for Carolina to climb. And as there's no any other games, as we predict Carolina to win at the same time related to this one, we predict Victor Hedman in Tampa scoring 0 points. Plus 120 odds provide value for this one. Our simulations predict all the player props and probabilities for different scenarios, and this was one that provided good value.
Yeah, it's hard to find value from the player props at any games, especially now in playoffs, but there was some for Hedman not to score a point. He has been scoring a lot of points, of course, on power play for Tampa Bay, but they played against Florida as well, which is not that good team defensively as Carolina is, so we'll go with Hedman not making any points, while Tampa Bay should lose this game because Carolina Hurricanes have to win it. We can take a look at the percentages, but if you go down 2-0, even in a normal circumstance, heading on the road, it must be quite a big percentage to climb up from. And then you take a look at the fact that Tampa Bay is the reigning champions. When they get to play their game at home, it's almost an impossible team to beat. So Carolina is now either win or lose this series. So now it's a must win. And with these percentages, 56 in the simulations, and nice odds about +100. Maybe towards the game, this might actually turn into even more plus for Carolina as it has previously. So let's have a look if we get even better value. But already value for the home team. Last game, 1-2 only for Tampa Bay. Scored a little bit of a fluke, the winner there. Maybe now Carolina will make sure that doesn't happen, or that doesn't need to happen, and they will take, let's say, 3-1, 3-2 victory over Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm going through the numbers. If Tampa takes second victory and leads the series 2-0 going to the home, they have bit over 80% chance to win the series based on a historical statistics. If it's 1-1 after 2 games, then Carolina has upper hand here, even though it's even the series. They have a 55% probability to win it. So it's somewhere close to 35% swing here for the series win probabilities. But we remember what happened in Toronto-Montreal. Montreal had an 8% chance to win the series, and they did it.
Yeah, never say never in a game of hockey, but when you think of it, also mentality, like a psychological factor here. If you're facing the reigning champions, you have to go to their place 2-0 down. Carolina Hurricanes, is it that tough team mentally? I don't know. So maybe it is very decisive to get it to 1-1, and then it's all open slate and open again. Whatever happens in the next game is still giving you a chance. So I think Carolina will put all their effort tonight. Well, of course, in playoffs, you should do that every night. But as we have maybe seen, that's not the case in every game or for every team.
Yeah, sometimes if you have lost or played 7 games and you face best team of the league in Mile High, you maybe take a few notch out of your best effort, and then you lose 7-1.
Yeah, and then you play your secondary keeper, the Swedish guy. So never do that.
Yeah, but tonight there is no Swedish goalkeepers. There is one from Russia and one from Czech. So we have most probably good goaltending in Tampa against Carolina.
Yeah, we'll see about that, but let's hope Hedman does not score any points.
That's our hope. We'll be back tomorrow with new hopes.
See you tomorrow.